Hello everybody, welcome to the stream. I'm gonna try and do two drawings here that I got in the mail to look at and try to help and improve, to help you improve your art. And if you're in the chat, and I hope it works, looks like it's supposed to work at least. You can type in your nickname, and if you want to submit any drawings or sketches or anything that you want help with, I will do those after these two drawings that I got in the mail. So if you're in the chat, just hit me up, just give me a link where I can click and download the art or sketch. Alright, I'm not gonna say the name for the people that have submitted, because I don't know if they want me to tell them their name or anything like that. I'm just gonna go with what I got. And one of the first things I got was this photo of a character that is from the front, a little bit to the side and jumping. And I thought it was a good drawing. Let's see, we're gonna go copy that over to my side here, and let's just drag it so we can get a better view of it. So let's do it like this, boom, and we're gonna lower it down so we can see a little bit more. And I'm gonna draw with red here so you can see what changes I am doing to the drawing. So for instance, let's start with the front character here. It's really good. I think it's a very good start. There are some things that you can do with this character. For instance, remember not to always go too straight in the chin. It's good if you want to have a style that is that, but try to remember to, you know, loosen it up a little bit, because even if it's square jaw or anything like that, always try to round out a little bit more. Everything else here looks good. If you want, I'm thinking this is an afro. So what you can do with an afro, if you want to do it a little bit more stylish, is either go like this, so you get a little bit more wildness, or you can do the more childlike version and do more cloud-like afro if you want that. I like the shoulders, except for this part right here, because even if there's muscles and, you know, stuff like that, it looks more like a jacket kind of thing. So remember, try to go like this, go round if you have to. If you want to do it more like a squared shoulder, then do square. Don't do a kind of pit, I would call it, in the shoulder. So try to do it like that. So I'm gonna show you two different ways here. So either go a little bit more round, or if you do it more like a square kind of shoulder. Okay, I like the pecs, everything here. Maybe you can lower this a little bit so the chest doesn't go way too much up, because you have to remember this goes out into the armpit. So remember that. Otherwise, the arms look good, depending on if you want muscles or not. The only thing other than this is I would look at the body a little bit, because first and foremost, you have done great here. You can push it a little bit more, but remember, the arm, the first part of the arm is gonna go to somewhere around the middle of the upper body, so you get somewhere around here, and then you have the arm going something like this, right? So you have to remember, when the hand, where the hands are, is supposed to be lower than the crotch, and you're having your crotch almost here at the hands, so that makes this a little bit more stretched body. Now if that's the style, then that's great, but it just makes me look at something is off here. So I would do something like this, where here the hip starts somewhere around that part. Imagine like if you make a t-shirt for the character, then these are the points where you have to cut it off. And that's where the hip is kind of starting. So other than that, it's great. I would perhaps move the ears. Remember, the ears are supposed to start where the eyes kind of starts. So remember that the ears should not be perhaps as high up, unless of course he's leaning his head down, but then you would have the eyes a little bit lower as well. So remember that the ears are supposed to be somewhere like this. Now if we go to the side character here, which is the same guy, remember always as well, when you do the head, you can see here you have a very spiky thing there and then nothing on this side. It should actually be kind of reverse, because here is the side that goes away. So we don't get the spikiness, we get the roundness here, and then you get the edgy side on this side. Once again, great here, everything like this. And remember, try to always make sure if the hair goes down to the neck part here, then the neck part would be somewhere around here. So you have to follow the hair and everything like this. So it's still great. The face have nothing to do, no problems there whatsoever. Like this part I like. He's a bit more muscly than he is on the front version here. Maybe it's a different version where you perhaps put some muscle into him. Once again here the hips are a little bit better because you're starting them earlier on, but we have to look at this side, because this side looks a little bit more different than the right side. So what you have done is great. Everything, I would say, up to this line, and everything to the right here is great. But on the left side you have some issues, because first and foremost you have the shoulder going down like this, which means you have to reflect that in the same area on the other side. So this would be more the correct way of doing it. If the body is like this on this side, then you would have a shorter, because this side is going to be very short and this is going to be approximately double the size, double the width. So remember that when you have this, you can move the chest muscles, and you can see already I'm pushing smaller here, because I know that you have this size of the shoulder, then you're gonna have to go and do it like this, and then you can have it. You see, it balances a lot more when you have this side smaller. It has to be less width and pushing it together. So that's the only thing here, because you have everything correct except for that the shoulders have to work together, unless of course, and I'm perhaps mistaking and interpreting it as he's standing on the side. Maybe it's an angle that he is standing, perhaps we have the camera a little bit above, so maybe he's supposed to be a little bit like this, where he's standing and we're seeing a little bit above him, and that's why his shoulder is going up. But then still again, you have to remember, then you have to play everything to that part, so you get like this, and the shoulder is still gonna be smaller and on the side like this. So you see, even if we put it like that, it has to go up, but it still has to function as the same as the other shoulder, because unless he's doing a shoulder shrug right up, that's when I don't know exactly what you're meaning by this. But so interpret as you wish. Now for this, this is a jumping pose with a very large package here. He's not sporting any underwear, and everything looks great. Remember, when you're doing jumping motions, remember that the hair perhaps is a little bit more wild and flowing because the force is going backwards. So remember that. Maybe he doesn't have much volume on this side. Maybe he's gonna become more like this, and everything is gonna go something like that. So just remember that in force. Everything else looks good with the face. Yeah, maybe he's angry. Everything looks good here. I think you have control over the eyes and everything. You have the screaming mouth. Everything looks good. I would say everything looks good around here. Then we're gonna have some issues because there's some proportion problems. But you're on the way. You're on the good way. So don't fret. It takes some time to get the proportions right because you're in the moment. You're drawing. I get it. I do it every time as well. Because everything here looks good. You have the muscles. Everything is showing that he's lunging forward. You have great with the arm here, but then you make it a little bit too small here, because if the shoulder is this, you have to realize that, okay, this is gonna become a little bit bigger because it's more front to the camera. So you have to remember that. And also, if this is the fist that's closer to the camera, then this fist is either very large or it's not the right size. Because remember, if this is the size, then you have to perhaps make the fist a little bit bigger, because so it can match the size of this fist. Alright, so and again, here we go again. Like I said, you have everything good, just fix that part or either shrink that part, because everything else up to here is great. But then we get to this part, which is the problem of, you know, not being the right size. It's great in positioning. Everything looks great, but it's the wrong size with this top body, because you have everything going right here. But then you have to realize this is perhaps the size of where the crotch is gonna be, and the knee is gonna be bigger because of the size of the body. So you're gonna have it come like this, and then you're gonna have your arm, or no, not your arm, your leg down here. And same thing here, you can just put on a little bit more muscle and then just go like this, and you get it right. And remember as well, if he's jumping, try not to make this too much. Make the foot flow down in the angle it's going. So sort of like the hair. If the hair is going backwards, yes, the foot is gonna go down as well. So you can see it's just proportion, because everything you did with the muscles, maybe less of these lines. You don't have to do every muscle line, remember that. But I'm not gonna say much about that, because that's maybe how you draw it, and that's great. But like I said, this part has to be bigger. As you can see, I've done it a lot bigger than the original here, because it gets too squished. You have to feel the whole character. If he's big like this here, yes, then he's gonna become bigger down there as well. Haha, pun, pun, pun. But as you can see, you have to move with the flow. And remember, don't do straight lines when it comes to muscles. Always remember that they are like kind of pushing, they're bulging a little bit more, okay? So you have the fist, fix the fists so they are correct in where they are positioned towards the camera. And remember also, if the top body is one size, the lower body has to be equally as large. So I'm hoping that you got what you needed, because that was all I got from this drawing, because this looks like more of a sketch or a process that I'm not gonna be indulging. I could say one last thing, and that's about the eyes here. You have great eyes, I'm not gonna say anything about that. The only problem is his eyes are a little bit too close to each other. It looks like he's kind of cross-eyed. So what I would do is just push them a little bit farther away, and then you get a great eye. Because maybe that's the eye style that you're going with. I'm not gonna, say anything about that. But just try to not get the eyes too close to, closer to the nose part, because then you're gonna have a cross-eyed person. So as you can see from what I've done, let's see, we can just fill in a little bit more here, and you will see what I have done here so you can see it a little bit easier. So you can see where I'm going with this, and remember this was just for if you have a shirt kind of looking at the where you should cut it off, or where the hip should start, so you get that. And you can see once again what I mean with jumping and everything like that. So that was that one. Let's put that in a folder so we can just go boom. And then I'm gonna go and do one more, which was an eye. This guy sent me 2 drawings, but one of them I thought didn't need any help because it looked good already. So I'm just gonna go and do this because he said he used my guide for an eye tutorial. So I'm gonna go and look at this, and I'm actually gonna go and make it a little bit bigger so we can see, so I can do details if I have to. Here we go. So he's done the eye here, and I'm gonna go just like this so you can see what I mean. And it's a good eye. It's a little bit too photoshopped for my taste because I can clearly see that you have used a soft brush here with the eyebrows, and you can see that it's shaded a little bit weird. You have done what I usually do, is a very thick line around the eye, and you have done the eye glare, and then you have a very sharp texture tool to do the eyelashes, which is, you know, if you want to do that, that's okay. But there are a lot of things you could do a lot better with this. Sometimes doing soft shadows isn't what you should do. Okay, so for instance, let's start just with the how the eye works. I'm gonna go through it again, and just to show you what I mean. So for instance, the eye, not how it looks on a person, but the eye is pretty much a ball where you have the pupil and the, I don't know the medical terms, but you know, you have the pupil, and then you have the window to the eye, as they say. Now then comes the eyelid, the top eyelid, and then you have the lower eyelid, and then it goes into, you know, the cornea and everything like that. And then you can have the eyelashes and everything, and then on top of that you have the eyebrow. Okay, so for instance, this is pretty much, and I'm gonna do a soft eraser here just to show you. I'm gonna ramp it up a little bit so you can see how it looks. When we start to remove certain things, it starts to look like an eye, right? That is the general idea, that's the general base form of how the eye works. Of course, then you can do, you know, the eyelid if you want to make the character look tired, or maybe look indifferent, or anything like that. But this is pretty much the basic eye, okay? So I'm gonna remove this and I'm gonna do a new layer just to show you what you can do to improve this one, okay? For instance, let's start just with the eye. Let's forget about the eyebrow. For this, I would say try to make it a little bit more even, because right now the eye is kind of leaning in this direction. The eye is going down, which it should not do. It should always try to remember that the eyelid is gonna go, here is the end and there's the end. It's gonna have to go like an horizon, okay? Like a straight line from each end. So even then, if you want to make it look angry or evil, then you put that side up. You use that to go up a lot more. So for this, I'm gonna go with a bigger brush just to show you. And I'm gonna go like this. And you can see I'm doing the same thing as you're doing, because I'm thinking that you took what I said, how I do my eyes. And I do a thick eyebrow or eyelid kind of way. Now from here, there's one thing that instantly caught my eye on your drawing, and that is that you have this line and then you put the eye almost like this, which is the right way to do it, but the other way. Because usually when you see an eye, they don't lean more down, it goes from up. So what I mean by this is it's more likely to see the eye like this. If you see the whole eye, that's great, but it's usually up here that it disappears. The eyelid on top is bigger, and that's when you're blinking, that's how you kind of can see it, because when you're blinking, you don't push this line up. This top layer goes down more, right? So that was the thing that caught my eye at the very beginning, because I can go and do just like this and follow your lines here. Let's make it a lot like yours, but I'm gonna change the line here so it becomes more even, and then I'm gonna go like this, and I'm gonna just connect it like that, just to show you how it looks when we do this. I'm not gonna do it perfectly because I want to show you just how easily it looks better when you do it like this. And I'm gonna go and do a little bit of ending right there, like such. So right, now we have the eyelid shape, but I'm gonna change this, the pupil thing, to like this instead. So it's more going on the top than down below. And of course that means in the center is gonna be the pupil, the black spot. Now I don't know the technical terms. I think I know them in my language, but in English I am not quite sure what it's called, but you know what I mean. I'm gonna talk like I'm like myself. I'm stupid, I'm not smart, and I don't know a lot of terms. So then you see here, that's my eye that I've done so far, and this is the eye that you have. So you can see the kind of the difference. But then again, if I remove this, it looks like this would be the nose part, right? And yeah, sure, my type of eyes that I do is usually going like this and then connecting them like this, and then having the eye like such, and then having the pupil like such, and the nose part comes here. So you can see I only connect it on the end of the eye. I don't do the corneas usually, unless of course it's a very detailed, perhaps close-up or something like that. So that's my way of doing eyes. But you said that you used my tutorial, so I have to kind of defend my version here. But like I said, I haven't done any, you know, iris. Yeah, thank you. So the thing is that I don't usually do eyelashes, because some people can do eyelashes. I am not one of them. But if I have to have, like, okay, it's gonna be a makeup kind of girl or something like that, then I usually just do them at the end, because I can tie it into a eyelash at the end, like such. And that's all I do. So I only get this. I don't get eyelashes all over the place. But if you want to do that, I suggest that you look at some artists that usually do, you know, very detailed, perhaps eye drawings and stuff like that, because there's a lot of eyelids and there's a lot of, you kind of have to do it by hand. You can't use this the grass texture thing you have in Photoshop, because that's not how it looks. But let's see here. So now we have the eye like this, and I think this is a not an evil character perhaps, but someone who's looking a little bit irritated, I would say. So for instance, I'm just gonna go and take your eyebrow here, and I follow your eyebrow up to this point, because then you have this a little bit weird hook around here. So I'm just gonna soften that out and make it very small in the end. So it's kind of like, it's like a worm that's really small at the end, and then goes flowingly up to your thickness that you have here. And then I'm gonna go and just cut it off like that. Maybe do a line or two here just to show that there's some wrinkles in the eyebrow. And then of course you can color it, but you can see here already it looks a little bit more flowing because the eyebrow is following your face. So you have to remember, once again, there's a socket here in the face around the eye. It's still a round ball. So for instance, I will only use this kind of eyebrow if the character is really angry, and I would do it like this as well. I would do it a little bit bigger, and I would probably, if I want to make it really angry, I would lean it down more. The thick part goes down more into the nose part. But if it's just a little bit irritated and not supposed to be like, you know, super mad, I will go like this and push it a little bit more up, so we get a little bit more room for the eyelid. I would usually say it like this: the eyebrow is supposed to go inwards from their points, from their ends. It's supposed to go in towards the eye, to the eyelids and stuff like that. Because now I can have an area here where the eyelid is, and I can do it like such, go like this, and then show a little bit of the eyelid going down. Now this is a character that's kind of tired, irritated and stuff like that. Or I can do a character that's perhaps really tired, just beat. And then I can just do a little simple line like that, just to show that there is an eyelid there. But I don't have to do that. I can just leave it like this. Maybe I can do, for instance, I can take a soft brush here. Let's go very soft. And I'm gonna go very heavy here now, but I can lower it down. So I can have some shadow here to show also the eyelid. Just a simple a little bit shade can help to do the eyelid. But I usually don't do that because I want to express with lines. So that's why I'm saying don't always use the soft shadows, because that could ruin the image more than help. So for instance, now we have the eye here, and you have done the, let's see, you have done the eye glare, or the eye light that usually bounces off the eye. Once again, like I said before, try to remember, always have the bigger glare up and the smaller one down. So for instance, if I'm gonna go and show it on this drawing, let's use a different color. Let's go with blue, just so we can see what I mean. So for instance, I would use, let's pick up a bigger brush. So I would have the glare, the bigger one here, and then have the smaller one here. Now why? Well, because the light is usually, depending on, of course, on your light source and everything like that, but the light usually comes from somewhere above. So it doesn't go from below and up. So the biggest light source is gonna be the biggest one, and that's probably because it's coming down like this. And for that, I want the bigger one on top, and then going into the pupil, or wherever this black little thing is. If it's called a pupil, then yes, then you're going inward. So remember that. Don't do it like this, where you have the smaller one and then the bigger one like that. That's only if the light source is perhaps coming from down below. But you always go in the direction of the pupil or eye. So like this. But if it's just natural light, yeah, then the sun is gonna come from above, and then you're gonna have the glare here. But you don't always have to do the second one. That's a thing you can do with your art style. Me, I usually just only do this. If I feel like it's needed, then I do the second one. There are other people that do even the light third one as well. But that's, that's up to you and your style, so to speak. So that's how I would do it. And let's see, once again, you have good with... But like I said, you have too much soft shadow here, and there's a very thick line here. Let's see if I can do. So what I would do is, I wouldn't do it like thick here. If you're gonna do a line, do it just so it, ends like a tail. Just do it quick, and then do like that. Make the eye a little bit more even, so it feels like this, and then go around like this. Change this so it goes, instead of going from down below, it goes up. Put the pupil higher up because it's always gonna be closer to this eyelid. And then of course put the light sources on top. Then push the eyelid or the eyebrow higher up. And if you have to do eyelashes, I do them on this, like this. And if you have to do them like this. If you have to do them all, then do it like this. Because even like this, it looks better than when you have this. Because this is too much Photoshop, I would say. So for instance, if you need shadows and stuff like that on this, I would put the shadows, I would put a soft shadow here. If you have to do soft shadow at all, I would do it like this. I would put the soft shadow here. It goes all over the eye like this, because that's the shadow on the eye lens or whatever it's called. I can't remember the technical terms. And then you can do a very, very small, just beneath the eyelid shadow. So you get the feeling that the eye is in the eyelid. And of course, like I said before, if you really, really, really have to, then you can do a very soft shadow above to show the eyelid. But that's pretty much it, what I would do with the eye. And of course, like I said, more lines than doing the soft shadowy thing, because it doesn't work. I mean, I could zoom out and it becomes a little bit better, but when I'm like in 50% here, and it looks very Photoshop because you have soft and sharp and soft and sharp. It doesn't mix well. So just stick with either sharp or soft. If you're gonna do it soft, you have to do everything soft. But also remember what should be, you know, very distinctive lines, and what should be distinctive lines and what should not be. Okay? So that's how I would do the eye that you have done. Because like I said, I thought the bull that you sent me, the other drawing, it was fine. It didn't need any help from me because it looked good. That was better done. There are some things you could fix, but I'm not gonna go because I thought that's just my style that I would change. So the eye was better for me to take up. And that's the two drawings that I had sent to me. I'm gonna go and take this and move it over here, and that one we can move over there. So if there is any drawings or sketches that you want me to check out, put a link in the chat so I can see it. Okay, let's see here. We have one. I'm gonna copy and open. Alright, we have an archer. Okay, then let's take a look at it. I'm gonna go down here and we're gonna paste it and move it so we can see. I'm gonna transform scale a little bit so we can get it all in the screen. Here we go. Boom. And I'm gonna put a layer on top. And let's see, I'm gonna change a little bit here so we can all see a little bit better the lines. Yeah, here we go. And push it a little bit like that. So it's kind of hard to see with the lines in the paper, but we're gonna do the best we can. So for instance, here you have a archer. And there are some issues with this. I think the overall image is good, but there are some proportion problems, and there is a mostly of it is proportion, maybe some gravity issues. So for instance, I'm gonna go through with it. I'm gonna go through it and we're gonna check it out. So for instance, we're gonna go in deep here. What I think you have done great here is, let's see, bigger, better brush. Here we go. You have great everything here. I think is great. You have the face, you have the neck. The arm looks good. Perhaps a little bit stretched. I'm not gonna question that because sometimes people do more stretched characters, and that's an art style. I'm not gonna argue with that. But let's see. I'm just gonna go how I would do it so I can see if there's the issue, because this I think is working great. It's the arm that's pulling back the arrow that I have a little bit issue with, because you can see the size of the arm and hand here, which maybe you could do the hand a little bit bigger, but the arm here feels like it needs to be a little bit bigger if we're gonna compare it to the other arm. Because if I go up here and the shoulder is gonna go up a little bit, which is great, you have thought about that, I like that. And you have the arm here, but you see here you need to do the arm a lot bigger to match somewhat to this size. And then the arm has to go in, because you're gonna hide, because it's gonna bend like such. So you're gonna have it go in like this. And I'm gonna try and remove some so you can see the size. So you see the size change I made to the arm, and that's because the arm is now, you know, bending over itself and pulling back, but the hand is still the same size because it's in the same kind of distance from the camera. So you have to remember to try to do that and not make the arm smaller. You can do it straight like this. You can also push it a little bit up if you want to do it muscle the other way. So the muscles go up and then like this, because the I think it's the forearm in English, it kind of is shaped like this and then goes smaller and smaller until you have the wrist, and then you have the hand like that. So you can see how this part is going to be a problem, because then you're going to have to push it either down or up. So either this way or both, if it's perhaps a very muscular person, so to speak. Otherwise, and I think this is a girl, and I don't know if these are, you know, baggy clothes or anything like that, but I would push it perhaps a little bit. Let's see here. So I would push it a little bit. I'm just gonna do the figure. I'm gonna skip the clothes, so you don't get the wrong idea of what I'm doing here. But for instance, here you have the neck, so you're gonna have the collarbone somewhere around here, and then the chest part is gonna be somewhere around there. Yes, because the other proportions problem you have here is, if this is the size of the upper body, the legs are not the same size at all. It's very good legs, I'm not gonna say anything about that, but it feels like if this is where the hip is kind of like ending, even if I push it a little bit, this is where the hip is ending. You put it somewhere around here, and then the rest is legs, and that makes it a very long-legged lady, and that perhaps is the purpose of it, but I'm gonna try and think like it's a considerable normal-sized person, or at least proportionally right-sized person. So for instance, I would go like this. So if I do from my end, I'm gonna do it like this, and this means that the knees are pretty much where you put them. That's great, but I would do it here. I would probably end my feet or leg, and perhaps this I would bend a little bit, because I'm not quite sure how they're standing, archers, so I'm not gonna try that. I have to look it up, but I'm thinking about how some females stand. The legs are not always, you know, straight line. And you can see here, this is a little bit more proportionately correct than yours. And like I said, if it's like, you know, I don't know, Code Geass, the anime does this with their characters. They have very small, very stretched out bodies, even in stuff like that. And sometimes Spider-Man, they use very long and very, you know, fluid lines and not proportionally correct to make an impact. But when it's a very static image and the character is very, you know, steadily standing and drawing, that is something you have to watch out. So for instance, maybe this composition where you see the whole body is not the best. Maybe the interesting part is just this part where we see from the hip up and we see the bow, depending on what you're doing, of course. The bow, I have no problem with the bow. The only thing I would do is try to make it a little bit more bend, because if she's drawing this at, you know, full strength, the bow would probably be more bent because it's at maximum. So you get this line, we're actually feeling a lot stronger. And of course, try to make the arrow a little bit more straighter, so you get the feeling that she's actually aiming at something. Because otherwise everything looks good. Clothes wise, I think it's no problem. Maybe she could have a belt or something. The only thing that kind of caught my eye as well is the cape, or the what do you call it in medieval? You know, cape. Isn't it a cape? Coat, cape. Help me out. Anyway, the coat is hanging out and going in this direction, which is fine, I guess, if it's a very stiff like this, or maybe the wind, but it feels kind of wrong. So I will show you what I mean by wrong. I'm gonna do this in blue so you can see the way I would do it, because I'm imagining that it's like a cape that's into the hoodie that's going like something like this, right? That's the feel I get for it. So it goes like this, so and it hangs like this. Now you have to remember, on this side the cape would go like this, so it kind of looks like it's gonna hang over the arms. You can go a little bit out and make it hang on the arm, and then just make it follow, you know, the rest of the shoulder. But for this, the arm is now pulling up, so the this one is actually going upwards a little bit. So you have to remember that, how the arm is gonna affect, because if you lift your arm, that means your shoulder and everything is going up, and that means that the cape is gonna go up as well. It's gonna be pushed upwards instead of going to the side like it's doing this. So here it's gonna go like that, and there it's gonna go hanging over there. That means also that if this is a cape with perhaps a heavy fabric or something like that. Now, I'm not gonna say it's blowing wind or anything like that, so let's just say it's wind still, it's no wind. That means from this, the cape is gonna go from here, gonna hang pretty much straight down. Same thing is gonna go here, it's gonna hang straight down. Yeah, cloak, thank you. So it's gonna hang straight down. Here is gonna be one length, but since this is pushing a little bit more upward, then you have to remember, okay, so that means that the cloak is gonna be a little bit higher up, and then you're gonna have the cloak kind of going down like such. Now this is if it's wind still, there's no wind blowing, but you could do it like this. Oh, let's see. So you could do it like this, where the cloak is flowing like this, but still you have to go from the points where it's hanging, and then you could just, you know, fix it so it goes like such, and then flowing like this. Then you get the more heroic pose. So that's the things that I caught on this. It's proportion, because everything else I think looked good. So it's pretty much just tightening, you know, fixing small things, just correcting small things. Just the size, so you get the size of the person. You know, bending the bow a little bit more, thinking about the arm size and hand size. And the cape or cloak or whatever you want to call it. How it, you know, lays on the character. So that's the things I can point out and help you out with when it comes to this drawing. Is there anyone else who has a drawing they want to submit and want me to take a look at? And now would be the chance. We still have a little bit time left. Let's see. So we have done the eye. We have done the character from a different points of like this, and we have the archer that we have helped out with. So I'm seeing no one submitting anything else, so I'm gonna call it here. I hope you have learned something, and I hope I helped these people with their drawings. Like I said, there are art styles that, you know, push the envelope on, you know, size and proportions and everything like that, but even those are based in a different way of looking at proportions. So for instance, if you have a very dragged out character, okay, but then everything has to be dragged out so it matches. So it's kind of like if you take proportions and just stretch it, alright, then everything stretches, so you have the rules for those proportions. But proportions is usually the most problem a lot of people have. And it's because you're sitting and drawing, and sometimes you're not used to drawing the whole thing, or you don't know the size of everything. But sometimes you have to look at it again and then just try to do it again and again and again, because that's how you get better. You get better when you're practicing, you're doing it, and don't be afraid to do wrong. Oh no, don't be afraid to do wrong. I do wrong as well a lot of times, and that's how you learn. That's how we learn. We do wrong. How do we pick ourselves up, Mr. Wayne? We do wrong, we know what we do wrong, and then we improve on what we do wrong. And that you can always do that for everything. But don't be afraid to do wrong, because that's how we learn and that's how we improve. Because if you only want to do it perfect every time from the start, never gonna happen. Never gonna happen. So just try, practice, practice, practice. Look at what other people are doing, and if you can't do it like that, then try something else. Maybe something else works with you than perhaps what you are looking at. There are a lot of different styles, a lot of ways to solve your problems. So I hope I've helped you in any kind of way, and for those who are looking at this later on YouTube, if you want to submit your art for me to do these kind of streams, or maybe I should do it like in videos instead, I don't know. Let me know. This is a test thing to see if it helps. A lot of people ask me to do this, but you can submit your art to boss@ebbevaccine.com with the title Art for Critique. Okay, so send art to, and there you go. So maybe I will do this as a video series, maybe I will only do it a couple of times, depending on the response and everything like that. I just want to help you guys and girls to get better at art, because I've been there, and I want to try and make everyone a little bit better at what they do. So I thank you, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!